1, 2, 3.
This is Marina Chang for kiteforum.com and the Kiteboarder Magazine. We're here at the 2009 Surf Expo trade show, or actually 2008 Surf Expo trade show, highlighting the 2009 equipment. With us today we have Ben Meyer from Naish Sports. And Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do with Naish?
Well, I guess the best way to describe it is kind of a brand ambassador. I do a lot of work with R&D and a lot of work with sales and demo trips and tours around the world, and kind of educate people about Naish product, as well as riding on the water as much as I can.
Well, that's great to hear, Ben. Let's go ahead and start with the products, and we'll go straight into the kite line. Ben, why don't we? What do we have here? Why don't you tell us a little bit about what are we starting out with the Colt?
Yep, we're gonna start with the 2009 Colt. The Colt for us in 2008 was a brand new kite release, highlighting our Geotech and Sigma design, which was brand new for us in 2008. The 2009 model is a continuation of that. It was a very successful kite in what it was designed for, which was sort of a beginner to intermediate target, but with capabilities of being used with advanced riders as well. So we wanted to continue that same design goal for the next year, and so not a huge amount of performance was changed from 2008 to 2009, because we thought the 2008 version pretty much hit everything that it was designed to do. There are some significant changes, however, one being a direct response steering wingtip, which means that the wingtip is sort of pre-curved, so when you give input to the bar, instead of having the wingtip bend before it turns, it's actually bent already, so as soon as you give input to the bar, the kite reacts.
Ben, can you tell us a little bit about what that performance difference is from last year to this year, what that means as far as feel for the rider?
Feel for the rider, you get a bit more direct feeling on your bar. The input from the system itself makes the kite a bit easier to tell where it is in the air. When you're steering, it's a bit more direct feeling. The water relaunch capability of the kite has been improved since last year, as well as trying to make as big of a range of wind conditions in general. And the Colt for us is the one that we consider is the most all-terrain kite of our entire range. It's the one that can be used to do pretty much anything that you want it to, whether it's freestyle, wave riding, beginning, cruising, jumping. It's the kite that we made in order to satisfy pretty much any rider that's out there.
Okay, Ben, so now we have the Helix here. Can you tell us a little bit about this kite and how it differs from the Colt, and what type of rider might enjoy this more than the Colt kite?
Yeah, a really, really exciting part of the kite range for us for 2009 is the Helix. It's the most drastically different kite compared to last year's, more than the Colt, whereas the Colt was more of a continuation. The Helix is a drastic design change compared to last year's. In general, it moved from a 7-strut kite to a 5-strut kite, and it has what we call a Geotech generated C shape, which means that instead of being a very wide arc, flat looking kite, it actually looks a lot more C-shaped, while still maintaining all of the high D-power and performance that our Sigma kite and Geotech SLE kites have. The performance differences between this year's Helix and last year's Helix are pretty significant. That mostly came because of that C shape, it mostly came from the Geotech generated C shape, as well as combined with a mini bridle system that has a bridle on the front and a direct connect on the back. So no longer does it have the full bridle system all the way through the connection points. It has a direct back connection and then a mini bridle front. And what that means is that you'll have a lot more of a direct feel in the bar, giving it more of a C-shaped feel, more of a torch-like feel, but have all of the benefits of the Sigma and the Geotech stability that all of our SLE kite range have. As far as who this kite is built for, whereas the Cult is a very, very easy kite that you can almost ride a Cult in your sleep. The Helix has a little bit more input, or a little bit more direct feel in the bar. What this will allow you to do is use it for, let me gather my thoughts again. The Helix will be for the rider who wants the highest performance unhooked kite, looping kite, a kite that jumps a little bit easier and better than the Cult does due to its design and its shape. It has a quicker reaction from the bar to the kite due to its direct back connection. So that you're going to get very, very little delay when you're actually putting input into the control bar into what happens with the kite, which comes into real handy for people who are really trying to get that extreme pop jump out of the water, and also people who want that pop for freestyle.
Ben, if you were going to compare, like, say, which kite would be better for somebody that has more that's more geared toward freestyle riding, or a rider that's more geared toward wave riding, what would you recommend for each of those types of riders?
Well, with all of our kites, we tried to build them as broad-reaching as possible. So I would still say that you can do anything on all of the kites. However, I think that the Helix is more specifically designed for the people who really want to spend a bit more time unhooked. Wave riding, I would say it's pretty comparable between the two, other than the fact that the Helix will perform better as an unhooked wave riding kite, as it just behaves a bit more like a C shape than the Cult does. But in general, the higher performance, perhaps more advanced rider will appreciate the differences that the Helix has to offer as compared to the Cult, even though it's a very easy kite to use as well.
We have here the 2009 Naish Torch. It's a sea kite. Now, Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about what changed and what didn't with this kite, and any performance differences that we have for this year?
All right. Well, with the 2009 Torch, was specifically designed to sort of maintain the category of kite that it's carved out for itself within our line. It's pretty well known, a fantastic freestyle kite. It's the kite of choice for pretty much all of our competing pros, and you know, with the whole bow kite, flat kite sort of revolution that's taken over in the last 4 or 5 years, a lot of people thought that sea kites would sort of disappear from the market, and actually what we're seeing is that there's still a pretty strong demand for people who want that C-shaped feel. Now, that's not to say that the Torch kite is a C-shaped kite that you could buy 5 years ago. There's definitely been a lot of advancements over the years, but we wanted to maintain the Torch as being that freestyle characteristic kite, that kite looping, great hooked in or unhooked pop kite that you come to kind of expect and want from your freestyle oriented kite. It jumps incredible. It depowers a lot, not as much as our Sigma kite line in general, but with its swept wingtips, it depowers just enough for you to be super comfortable and have a wide range of conditions. The difference between 2008 and 2009 is not drastically huge. Like I said, we want to really keep the Torch kite in a category that the person who owned one in 2007 and 2008 will know exactly what to expect from the 2009 version. The main thing that did change, which all of our kites share, the Helix and the Cult and the Torch all share, is a direct response steering, and that again is sort of the pre-curved or the pre-shaped wingtip that allows it to, when you put input into the bar, it allows the kite to react instantly instead of having to warp and change and wait for the kite to be in the right position. It just automatically is in the right position.
So direct connections, no bridles, no nothing, just pure C 5-line kite.
Pure C 5-line kite. It does have a byline connection in the front that hooks into your five line, but no bridle system. It's a pretty classic C shape setup.
And Ben, can you tell us about each of these, each of the 2009 kites? Are they available now, or when are their release dates?
Yes. The release dates for the Torch and the Cult they've already been released. They should be in shops all around. I believe that the Helix is shipping right now, and probably will start showing up within the next week or so, depending obviously on the shop and how fast they wanted to get the kite in. But of all of the kites, the Helix definitely has the most buzz about it, just because it is such a drastic change from last year to this year. People who tried the Helix last year and know how that kite reacted will be blown away by the differences between that kite and this kite for 2009. So that's the one we're kind of excited to get in people's hands to try out, because it's such a brilliant gap between that C-shape, kind of direct performance that you want, but still have all of the characteristics of a flat kite and our geotech and Sigma shape kites.
Can you tell me a little bit about the relaunchability difference between, like, say, a Naish with the traditional C shape and with the new geotech Sigma shapes that you have on the Helixes and the Colts?
Yes, there's the differences between our C shape, like the Torch, and our Sigma geotech kites, like the Helix and the Colt. The relaunchability is achieved in in different ways between C and the Sigma. With the C kite 5 line, you have a pretty traditional pull the fifth line towards you to sort of get it up and going on its back, and then move to one side of the window versus the other to be able to get it in that relaunch position. The Sigma kites, or our 4-line kites too, have, because of the Sigma shape, they have actually, I probably should grab it to be able to show. So our Sigma kites, for relaunching, if the kite is actually down in the water, there's only 2 points that are contacting the surface of the water. So what that means is there's a lot less surface tension of material of the kite on the water. So any input that you're going to give to the kite will allow the kite to just rotate off of that 1 point as it's trying to get up and relaunch. So in order to make the kite relaunch, as you pull one of your back lines, it will actually rotate the kite right off of this point, almost all the way like this, until it gets into the proper relaunch position. So you don't really have to wait for the kite to drag or get into the right position in order to relaunch. It wants to just rotate off of 1 point and go right away. So a lot of times when you see a Sigma kite relaunch, it'll almost look like it's spinning 180 really quick out of the water, because as soon as you get the kite rotating on this 1 point, there's very little surface tension in order to keep it stuck to the water. So it really wants to, if you give it a relaunch input, it really just wants to flip around and fly.
Okay, now we're looking at the 2009 Naish control bars. Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about what changed on this bar? Last year you introduced the Naish Smart Loop, so did anything change on that, and what else may have changed?
Yep, in 2008 we introduced a new below-the-bar sheeting system and quick-release system in the Smart Loop. That stuck around for this year, so if you had a 2008 bar, an SLE bar, you'll still find the same general Smart Loop function that there was there in 2008. There are some pretty significant changes, however, for the new bar. Most of it making the bar a lot easier to use for a variety of conditions and a variety of kites. We no longer have different bar sizes for different kites that you buy. You have one kite bar for all SLE kites. It is an adjustable bar between 19 and 21 inches. And the way you do that, you can see there's a little adjustment point underneath the bar end. The bar ends here, and just a simple pull of the floater, which actually hides the connection points here, and you can actually adjust from the inside position, which is 19 and a 180 spin, and then resetting it back inside the bar changes it to the 21. And in that case, then you can have a 7 meter kite with the 19 inch, and then fly your 15 meter kite with the 21 inch with the same bar. Instead of having to carry around a few different bars, it allows, number one, easier for grabbing bars out of shops and giving to people, but also for you as a rider, you only really need to travel with one bar anywhere, because it fits any size kite due to its adjustability. Also, what changed too is the under the floater. Floater is actually new as well, but the under the floater adjustment for your flying lines your steering lines. What that does is give a smooth transition here. Instead of having knots and lines flaying off from up here, you have a smooth connection here in order to give your adjustment underneath the floater. The other major change for this year is a through-the-bar leash system, which you can see connects to the smart loop in a traditional 5-line way. So if you're used to a 5-line kite bar or an under-the-bar leash system, you'll be super familiar with the way that this looks underneath the bar. Both of our bars this year look identical from the bar down. They both look like they both have the smart loop. Both have what looks like kind of that 5th line leash position. However, this is not a 5th line. This is actually your leash. So if you follow that through the bar to this piece, this is actually a new piece for the year. This serves as a front line swivel, as well as the connection point for your through the bar leash. So if you need to let go of the bar and flag the kite out, actually what would happen is this piece actually travels up and away, and it still has that through the bar ease of use instead of going around the bar like we had in 2008.
So if you engage the safety system on this bar, can you get it back, or is your session over?
This is not a re-ride. This was not built for re-ride. This was built basically for killing the power of the kite. There are a few different ways that you can set it up for re-ride, which I'm sure there's 1,000 different ways that you can find online, or diagrams of people setting up different ways for re-ride. But this is a safety leash designed specifically to kill the power of the kite when you need it.
What other safety features are there on there? Do we have the shit handles or anything?
Nope. This leash in itself serves that purpose. All you need to do is hook your leash to your harness and then hook it to this loop underneath the bar, and pulling the quick release system would be all that you need in order to engage that, which is a very easy way. If your spreader bar is here, super easy way to release, and then this would be the only way that you're connected to your kite and a full kill depower. So there's really no need for other lines and other handles to have, as this sort of serves that purpose for if you have problems and need to kill your kite, this is what you do, and it's a simple pull away quick release of the smart loop, and you're safe.
So now we're looking at the 2009 bar. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what changed and what might not have changed on this one?
Yes, this is the 2009, what we call the shift system. It's a five line bar. Again, like I said, with the SLE bar, everything below the bar looks pretty much the same for both our SLE and our shift system bar, with the smart loop and this connection that's connected to the smart loop. This is a 5th line on the shift bar, whereas on the SLE bar it was actually your leash. This is actually hooked to your 5th line, which obviously serves a function of a complete kite kill and depower, but in a different fashion as the SLE would be. For changes, it enjoys the same 19 to 21 inch adjustment through the bar ends. It's a redesigned bar end, just like on the SLE bar. A new grip that's a bit stickier than the 2008 version, in my opinion. I thought we had a pretty good grip last year too, but this is a little bit more grip to it. Again, that shares with the SLE bar as a change from 2008 as well. And above the bar, the overall 5-line system has stayed the same. The shift system has stayed the same. We have a stopper that comes, a sliding stopper that comes with every system, but doesn't come installed. You have to install it yourself, as it's definitely not, it's only for use for people who are really, really comfortable with kiteboarding and confident in their skills and in the place that they kite. So it doesn't come installed. It's one of those things that you have to put on yourself based on how comfortable you are with having a potentially dangerous item attached to your bar. A simple stainless steel pulley with your direct connected front line, which actually splits then into your 2 front lines as you go up. But the same features that the SLE bar got upgraded to the shift system bar got upgraded to as well.
One last question for both the SLE and the torch bar. Will they work with the 2008 models?
Yep, they will. Both bars will work with the 2008 models. We've tried pretty hard to keep the line lengths the same regardless. So if you lay all your lines out, they should be pretty even across no matter what. So in that sense, if we're building on years of trying to keep those lines the same, so as you switch from kite to kite to kite, you can still use the same bar or upgrade to a new bar with your 2008 kite.
Okay, so now we're moving on to the twin tip line for Naish's 2009 lineup, starting with the Thorn. Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about what changed and what didn't, and who the Thorn is best made for?
Okay, for the 2009 Thorn, in general, the Thorn range has been our highest standard of kiteboard that we make. It's the board that most of our touring pros use. One of the best ones that I've ever ridden for freestyle. Its design, its outline has stayed pretty much the same over the last few years. We've just changed internal structure based for strength and for performance, and kept sort of that driving square outline that you need for freestyle and strong riding. So the most exciting thing about our Thorn line this year is the introduction of the Thorn FC, which is a 3-size range inside the Thorns, which is a full carbon top and bottom. And if you actually look in through the clear sections of the graphic, you can see the carbon that's actually built into the graphic. Instead of it just being black, it's actually just a clear window into the carbon, which you can see on the top and on the bottom.
And so what performance characteristics does carbon give to the board?
Well, if we're comparing Thorn to Thorn, because there's also a regular Thorn line which does not have the full carbon, it's just our Thorn line. They both share the same wood core, so they are solid wood core boards, bomb-proof, pretty indestructible, almost impossible to break them. But the carbon itself offers the differences between the two is that the carbon is a bit lighter. The boards in general will be lighter than the standard glass layup boards. In my opinion, in the riding style, it's a bit livelier. It feels like it rides a bit higher in the water. The pop is pretty instantaneous. It reflexes the effort that you put into the corner when you're looking for pop, rebounds and reflexes really fast back to you, giving that really quick pop out of the water, which is super important for freestyle or for jumping or anything like that. Not saying that the other boards don't do that, but the carbon itself makes that reflex back to its original shape quicker. So with the introduction of the FC line, it gives you a really lively, poppy board that is a lot of fun to ride, and it's really fast feeling, and those are the differences between a full carbon board versus one that's done with just glass.
Can you tell us a little bit about the size ranges, starting from the smallest size to the largest size for the carbon models and for the regular models?
Yes, the carbon models come in 3 sizes. It's a 130, a 132, and a 134. And the regular model starts at 128 and goes to 136. They share the same graphics, other than the windows on the FC to the carbon is just black on the models that are glass. So it'll be very easy to tell the Thorn range of a board. The Thorn FC just has the clear windows through to see the carbon. Their design goal is the same. They both have they're the same outlines. They're the same sizes and everything. The only thing that's differing is the layup and construction. The solid or the glass only board feels a bit more solid in the water. It rides a bit lower, and is actually a pick for a lot of people who really like to be a really powerful rider, because it's really stuck to the water really well, drives upwind really, really well, and doesn't quite have the same lively response as the Thorn FC does, and definitely suits a lot of people's riding styles. So they'll both share the similar sizes and outlines and constructions. Just changing the layup very small with glass versus carbon actually gives them a pretty different ride.
So Ben, for the Naish Thorn, what kind of accessories are coming on the 2009 models?
The accessories for the '09 Thorn include our Grav D1 strap and foot pad system, which we've had for, I believe, 3 years now. This is the '09 version of it, which has a single, it's a single system board and strap system that's kind of, it's interactive and cohesive in sort of its one unit. Instead of having a separate separate foot pad and a separate strap, you actually have one system that's designed to work together, where the screws mount a bit more underneath your feet to give yourself a really good connection to the board. Differences between last year and this year is the foot strap is a bit stiffer. It really keeps your foot locked in. The foot pad itself is a bit stickier. We changed the grip, so when you're out riding, your foot actually doesn't slide around hardly at all. It's really hard to get your foot to come out of there. And as well, obviously changed the look and the design of it. Comes standard with the grab handle. The fins that come with all Thorns are a G10 material, 5 centimeter. The fin shape has been changed from last year to this year as well, and offers a great mix of efficiency and upwindability and pop in the water.
The Naish Stole has been the staple all-around board in the Naish line. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what changed and what didn't for the 2009 board line from the 2008 board line?
Yes, the 2009 Soul follows in the same pattern that we set up for the Soul originally, as being our all-terrain board, the one that can be used in the most wide range of conditions. Differences between the 2008 and 2009 board, the outlines in general have stayed pretty much the same. We flattened out a little bit the roundedness of the tip and the tail, made it a bit closer together. For no reason other than aesthetics, to kind of change the way because of the curved wingtips. Woohoo! Because of the curved edges, you really can't find yourself ever in a situation where water's going to be splashing around, or it's really hard to bury the nose of this thing, just because it kind of always rides out of chop or anything like that. So it makes it a really good all-terrain board for choppy water, smooth water, doesn't matter. And so moving the ends in and out and that sort of a thing, we were just trying to find the perfect balance between still keeping that easy rounded outline, but still able to deliver as much power as we want to by a squared off version of our more freestyle boards. Actually, with the Soul, if you were to cut it off right here and do a super straight cut here, you'd find a very similar board in outline and rocker to the rest of our board line, but you would lose that sort of ease of use in the front without it splashing around or burying the nose or hitting a corner or something like that, which makes it so great for an all-around board, for an all-terrain board.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the accessories that come on the 2009 Soul?
The accessories that come on the Soul are the Grav D1 system, updated and improved from last year with a better structured foot strap and a bigger and a stickier foot pad in the water. Comes standard with a grab handle, carbon composite grab handle, and also comes with the fins that are 5.7 centimeters, a composite fin with a new shape that again is a sort of a balance between efficiency, upwindability, and pop out of the water.
We're now featuring the 2009 Naish Haze. Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about why somebody would prefer the Haze compared to the Soul or the Thorn, and what may have changed from year to year on this model?
The 2009 Haze board and the Haze line in general has always been sort of our introductory board, ones that you'll probably be learning on and sort of becoming an advancing intermediate. So whether that means that you learned on one in a school or it's one that you picked up in a package deal in a store, that's sort of the position of this board. The 2008 version was a very flexible board. It was very easy to feel the board flexing underneath your feet, which made it very difficult to become overpowered on, which as a beginner, when you're trying to figure out exactly how to put your kite compared with your board, was a very advantageous thing. and made it a very easy ride. The difference between last year and this year is that we actually stiffened up that overall flex of it to try to sort of embrace the advancing intermediate section a bit more, who would appreciate a bit stiffer of a board as far as drive and upwind ability, in order to broaden the reach of what this board is for. The outline, again, makes it a bit easier for your beginner and your intermediate rider, in that it's not a very squared outline, so it doesn't overpower you very fast. It narrows out in the tip and the tail a bit more than our other models, just making it a bit easier of a ride as you're trying to learn and try to begin figuring out your way to go upwind and that sort of a thing. However, with the increase in the stiffness, it kind of envelops that intermediate rider a bit more and makes it a bit higher performance of a board for the people who need it after they've been riding for a while. And personally, I can do all the freestyle that I can do on a Thorn board on this board as well, and be happy with it. Obviously, it's not as good as the Thorn in freestyle, but it still has that capability over the 2008 version.
Can you tell us a little bit about the accessories that come on the Haze, and also what the size ranges are?
The Haze comes standard with a Gravity 1 foot strap and foot pad system, a super rigid structured foot pad and foot strap compared to last year. It moves around a lot less than it did last year. Also, the foot pad itself is a lot stickier. We changed the grip up as well. It's a below the foot mounting system, which puts the energy and the weight right underneath your feet. Instead of pinning your foot to the outside of the board, it actually brings the weight and the energy directly underneath your feet into the board, which gives you a better board feel. Comes standard with a grab handle and 5.7 centimeter fins. The sizes of the Haze, I believe, start at 128, go up to, I think, 141 in this version, and we actually have two light wind versions.
The 2009 Haze line also includes two light wind board models. Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about these boards as well?
These are the Haze XLs. They're in the Haze range. The layup, the construction is about the same. You can notice the obvious outline differences between the normal Haze line and the Haze XL line. Built specifically for light wind and actually for students for learning. They're pretty easy boards to get up and planing on. Not a lot needs to be explained about them. They're huge, super wide boards, super long boards, super wide in the tips and the tails to really get you up and planing early. Or a student up and planing without a lot of energy and kite control to be able to get up and start your first rides. It comes in a 135 and a 144. The 144 is huge and is very obviously meant for super light winds and first rides. And the 135 will get you up and going really early as well. However, when the wind picks up, it'll still perform at a rate when you can stay on the water and not have to. It won't overpower you so fast that you have to get off as soon as the wind picks up.
So for a light wind rider, what would you say would be the weight range for the larger board versus the smaller board?
Weight ranges, there isn't really a weight range between the two because they both sort of serve different functions. The biggest size board could be used by someone super small. I don't think you would really need it if you were under 150 pounds. I think it's probably too huge to maneuver around. I mean, you could use it, but you would have a hard time figuring out what to do with it when you're actually planing. But in general, I could use any board in any condition and try to figure out something different to do with it. You can do actually freestyle on the smaller of the Haze XLs, whereas you really can't do that on the bigger sizes. So it sort of just depends on the condition at the time and what really you want to do. If you just want to get up and moving or get your first rides or just go back and forth, anyone can use the big size board and do that. The smaller one will allow you to be a little bit more, have a little bit more action and actually do some freestyle and jumping if you want to.
Now we're looking at Naish's 2009 Surfline. Directional Surfline. We have 3 different lines coming up for the new year. Ben, what are we looking at here? And can you tell us a little bit about what kind of rider and what kind of conditions would most enjoy this particular line?
Yes, the first line we're going to start with is what we're calling the global line. It takes over from our CR line from last year, which is the carve rocker, this is the line that's mostly based off of a normal surfboard. The one I'm holding now is a 5.7. It comes in a 5.0, a 5.4, a 5.7, and a 6.0. These are the boards that are based, like I said, most specifically off surfing. So it's the most similar line that we have that'll feel like you're actually on a surfboard. Obviously, not exactly the same layups as surfboards. It's a lot beefier for having constant heel pressure on it. But definitely surf enough that they're designed for riding waves, not for jumping, not for anything other than that, because they're still light enough to have that surfboard snap and feel. But if you're going to go out and jump 20 feet and land flat, it's going to behave like a surfboard, and we wanted them to behave that way too. Otherwise, you kind of lose that magicness of a surfboard in its performance. So new for this year versus last year's Carve Rocker line, the 2009 Global Series is a quad fin setup. This one doesn't actually have the fins in it. I can take that one off and show you in a second, but they're all a quad fin setup. Which is a pretty hot thing in surfing in general right now. And so we designed every board specifically to have that quad fin. We did tons of prototypes and rode all kinds of different ones. Definitely has a different feel than a thruster, but the quad fin in our Global Series this year made him a bit more accessible to an average rider. The people who will enjoy the global range more are the guys who are really looking to ride a wave like a surfer does. These are the ones that'll act the best unstrapped and riding them just like you'd ride a surfboard. So this entire line is for the person who's looking to really have a wave and use the wave power in order to lay into your bottom turns and set up for top turns and act like a surfer. And sort of a little secret, especially if you're traveling or you bust a fin someplace and you don't have a replacement for it. DFS is similar to FCS in its function. The fins don't exactly fit from one to the next, but if you're in a bind and you need to get an FCS fin to replace one that you broke, the box will fit it. The FCS is a little thicker, so you probably need to sand a little bit off for 10 seconds or something like that. But it'll fit in, and the screws obviously will hold it in just as well. So an FCS fin will fit in if you are in a bind and need to replace a fin, or change your fins completely if you want to be a bit more. If you want to try out different fin configurations.
Ben's now showing the Naish 2009 Fishline. Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the fish shape is best for, and what may have changed from last year to this year?
The 2009 Fishline actually increased its number of sizes this year. We have a pretty solid 5'5" fish surfboard that we've had standard in the line for the last few years. This year we actually introduced a smaller size in a 5'2", and in general the fishes are a bit wider in their outline, which make them a bit easier in lighter winds, for example, and also in mushier waves. These are the boards that are gonna act great in kind of mushier, sloppier conditions, and because you'll get a lot of positive reaction out of hitting white water and that sort of a thing when it's not a super clean breaking wave. You can still get a lot of performance and fun out of a fish board. The 5'2" model is big enough to sort of get those riding characteristics out of it, where it's still wide enough to get going in regular lighter wind conditions. You don't have to be super powered up for it, but it has enough. It has enough snap and versatility to sort of change directions instantly. And a person who's really used to riding twin tips, who wants to try a directional board for the first time, will probably be most comfortable on this board, because it allows you to sort of change direction pretty quickly and really snap it around really fast, instead of a long, drawn-out bottom turn that the bigger, more normal surfboards have.
So you would recommend this maybe as a first directional board for a kite surfer that doesn't necessarily have a surf background?
I would definitely recommend this board as a first directional board. It's wide enough that it'll get you going in pretty much any wind condition, and it also, like I said, provides enough versatility that you're not, when you're shifting your weight and you're turning it, you're not going to be out of the water, like a fish out of water, no pun intended, with the other boards where you really kind of have to shift your balance and shift your weight in order to wait for the wave and wait for the board. This one is pretty quick reacting and playful, and a lot more like a twin tip would feel under your feet, but still have the directional and wave riding capability.
And the fin configuration on the Fish series?
The fin configuration is also a quad fin setup. Again, they're not in this board, but is also a quad fin for all of them. Behind me is the last kite surf board in our line. It is the Naish Gun. It's a 5.9, and the shape in general is a pretty straight outline. It's great for choppy water, designed a little bit more for bigger waves, but can be used in pretty much any condition. It's the only board in the line that is a thruster fin setup, and as you can tell, it's a beautiful board. It's full wood, top and bottom. And if it's not a board you want to ride, it's definitely a board you want to hang up in your shop or on your wall. It's just a beautiful board.